Hello everyone. In this session, I'll show you how to find the logged in user in SAP Cloud Platform NEO environment. In another session, I'll show you how to find the logged in user in the Cloud Foundry. But in this session, we'll look at the NEO environment. The key thing to find the logged in user is the SAP Cloud Platform has a user API service that provides the logged in user readily. So it's just a matter of calling that logged in that API. So it's fairly straightforward. So let's get started. I'll create a project from template and I will call this project user info. And I will also give a namespace of com.sap. I will hit next, and for the view, I will give a name of app, and then I'll go ahead and finish it. Once I finish it, I go into the neo app.json file and then add this new route for this user API service. And then in my controller.js file, I can go ahead and call it. Okay, so the app the template has created. So I go into my neo app.json file, and here you have all these routes. So we are going to add an additional route, and I'm going to call this user API service that's provided with the SAP Cloud Platform. So I have the path and the target and the description that I need to pass. So services/user API. And then for the target, so for the target, which is going to be an object, so here I'm going to have a type, and instead of a destination, it's going to be a service like this. So I'm going to call this service. And then I'm also going to give a name, which is the user API service. So name, and this name is going to be the user API. Okay, so this is the key thing. So once I have this section in my neo app.json, then it's just a matter of calling it from my controller.js. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a call to the service, and then the result that comes, I'm going to put it in a JSON model. So let me also go ahead and define a JSON model. So here I'm going to just create a new JSON model, and I'm going to name it going to have it as a named model. You can have it as a default model if you want, but the default model, typically I reserve it for data and stuff like that. So I'm going to have this as a named model, and it's going to be, let me, give me 1 second. And it's going to be of type, and it's going to be of type sap.ui.model.json.json model. So once I make a call to the user API, I'm going to get whatever data is there, and I'm going to put it into this user model so I can use it from anywhere later on. So let me open my controller.js file. And what I'm going to do is right when the app starts, I'm going to make this call to this user API. So let me also make a reference, get a reference to this user model. So once I get the data, I can throw it into this user model, this JSON model that I just created right here. So this is going to, I'm going to get it from this get owner component. And it's a named model, so I have to pass in the name, which is a user model, and I believe that's what I gave. Yes, so this is the name, and I'm passing in this name, and this is the model. And once I make a call to the user API service, that data I'm going to put it in here. So let me make a call using the fetch API, and fairly simple to make this call, /services/user API that we defined right here. So when we make this call, it's going to call this user API, and I want to get the current user. So I'm going to pass in current user as well to the URL. Now this is going to be a promise. So when this gets resolved, I'm going to do the then, and this is going to give me a response, which is, and I'm going to do a res.json, which is also going to be a promise. So when this gets resolved, at this point, I should have the data. So this data, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it into this user model. So the response and then you have to call this rest.json so that the response is in the JSON format, but this returns a promise as well, so you do a dot then again. And then once I have the data, I'm going to do a, oh, let me do this. Let me have let me equals this. So now I can reference this user model here, me dot underscore user model, and I'm going to set this property to the data that I just got. So this should give me the user information. And just for good measure, I'm also going to do a console.log, and I'm going to do this me dot underscore user model dot get property, and I'm going to get this property. Yes, so that looks good. And in case I do run into some exception, I can always do this catch error, and then I can just do a console.log and then error. Okay, looks good to me so far. Now this is going to be a console log. Let's also have some kind of a UI as well. So I'm going to go into my app.view.xml file. Here, let me change this to user information. And in the content, I will throw in all the user values as well. So I can do a VBox. I can have multiple labels here. So I can have a label with a text, and I can have a display name. And this we are going to read from the user model, because the user model is now going to have all that information because we are doing it in the onInit and display name. And I can close this label just to see what it's there, but we can, let me copy and paste this a couple of more times so I can get all of the other information as well. So I can get the email, so I will do an email. I can get the first name, and I can also get the last name. So this is going to be email, this is going to be first name, and this is going to be last name. Okay, so this should be all set. I think I have everything working. So let me go ahead and run this. No, before I do run this, I do need to do one more thing. I need to make sure that there is authentication method. So authentication method, I will set it to SAML so that we have a logged in user. So now everything looks good. So let me go ahead and run it. And I will choose index.html to run it. And I will also open up my debug console. And I should see, okay, so the fetch was made, and this is the object that I get because we are doing a console.log, and we are also displaying it as a label. Okay, so in the next session, I will show you how we can get the same user information in the Cloud Foundry environment. And that's a little bit more complicated than this. Actually, it is a lot more complicated than this. And okay, I'll see you in the next session. Thanks. Bye.